I'm Amber. Welcome to Channel 19 News. Today we're with Lázaro Cárdenas. So, what did you accomplish during your presidency?
Well, I tried to acquire reforms that were guaranteed in the Constitution. I returned land to the peasantry and got some of the oil industry back into Mexico's hands.
For our next report, we're interviewing a representative from the Institutional Revolutionary Party. So, what did your party do once you gained control of Mexico?
Well, we completely threw out the reforms put in place by Cárdenas. We were harsh and we tried many different economic strategies that decreased or increased our dependence on foreign capital.
Right, and did the party ever come under attack?
Yes, in the 1990s, peasants from the Chiapas district protested our political oppression.
Now we're joined with Juan Perón. What was it like during your presidency?
Argentina experienced an expansive economy, a booming urban life, beginnings for an industrial base, and a growing middle class.
And what started to shift in politics?
There were free elections and a sharing of political power between the different classes. But there was still the brutal and deadly sway of military leaders.
And why did people like you as president?
I promoted nationalistic populism by calling for industrialization, supporting the working class, and protecting the economy from foreign control. Argentinians also really liked my wife, Eva. Eva helped the poor as much as she could.
What happened after you left office?
Brutal military dictators took over and started death squads. There were many economic disasters and the poorer classes started to grow.
Now we're speaking to former Guatemalan President Jacobo Arbenz Guzman. Explain what led to the U.S. kicking you out of office.
In 1953, I called for a government seizure of uncultivated land owned by the United Fruit Company. I offered compensation to the U.S., but President Eisenhower saw it as an act of communism. They replaced me with Colonel Carlos Castillo Armas. After he was killed, there was a civil war that did not end until the late 90s.
So, here we're talking to Anastasio Somoza Garcia, former president of Nicaragua. How would you describe your relationship with the U.S.?
The U.S. and Nicaragua were great allies. We both were very strong anti-communists.
And how did the Somoza control of Nicaragua come to an end?
The Sandinista Front for National Liberation.
Now we're talking to Ronald Reagan on his point of view of the Sandinista Front. So what was the U.S.'s involvement in this?
Before I became president, Carter had sent aid to the Sandinista government. I abandoned his policies. I offered support to the Contras, a CIA-trained group created to overthrow the Sandinistas.
Now we turn to Raul Prebisch, an Argentinian economist. How do you explain Latin America's economic problems?
I developed a theory that states that industrial nations dominated the international economy and profited at the expense of less developed nations with unbalanced economies. As you probably heard in the media recently, Sub-Saharan Africa is on thin ice. Although there are still issues, South Africa seems to have risen above. Today we have a member of the African Air National Party here. Welcome.
Hey.
So what did you guys do as a party?
Well, considering South Africa still has a large amount of white people, we tried to keep them on top. Black people should be held back.
And what have you done to keep them back?
Well, we created the apartheid. It's just a bunch of laws to control the black population.
And did you have any opposers?
Oh yeah, we saw all opposers as communists. One of our biggest enemies was the African National Congress. They made a freedom charter in 1955 for multiracial democratic rule, so we banned their organization. Oh, and we arrested Nelson Mandela and their other leaders in 1963.
How else did you affect your country?
Well, in 1961 we left the British Commonwealth and declared ourselves a republic. I'm very proud of that.
And what happened when F.W. de Klerk took over as president?
When Klerk got the presidency, he got rid of the apartheid, legalized the ANC, the African National Congress, and freed Mandela. Then in 1994, they ended up getting a new constitution and democracy.
That's too bad for you. Thanks for talking to us today, but my earpiece is telling me we gotta get to the next segment. So how did you get into power?
Well, I got lots of support from the U.S. because the former leader, Lumumba, was a communist, so I killed him in 1960 and became the leader of the country.
And what happened while you were in rule?
It's a funny story, actually. I may have ruined the economy, so Laurent Kabila took power in 1997.
And how did that go?
He changed the name of the nation to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then he got shot in 2001, and his kid Joseph took over.
Sounds like a fun time. So this has been great talking to you and all, but we have another piece to do.
Hey, sorry to barge in. I heard it was my time to come on.
Oh yes, here we have an expert on all things Africa. So tell me, what's going on the continent right now?
Well, there's a growing demand for commodity exports, and there's so much population growth that it's very difficult for agricultural production to stay up to speed.
So why don't they do anything to increase their economies?
Well, they try integrating themselves, but they're too dependent on everyone else.
That was some great insight. Thanks.
Today our topic is Islamic resurgence. The Cold War caused a split between Arab Muslims. Some sided with the US while others sided with the Soviet Union. Political turmoil made attaining peace hard. After an attack on Israel, Egypt's defeated leader, Anwar Sadat, tried to facilitate peace, which the US helped negotiate. Sadat was assassinated by opponents of the peace agreement, which halted the peace process. The Palestinian Liberation Organization was created by Yasser Arafat to represent and advocate for the rights of displaced Palestinians from Israel. Violence between Israelis and Palestinians didn't squander the desire for peace between the two rivals. Arafat and the Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin, signed peace treaties that further limited the Palestinians' ability to self-rule. Not soon after, Rabin was assassinated, thus halting the peace process. Many Muslims viewed American and European influences as threats to their society. Most protested in peaceful ways, but some extremists used terrorism and tried to start revolutions. The U.S. was supporting Iran with new technology in exchange for them fighting against communism, but many Iranians didn't like the American influence. A revolution was started, the Shah fled the country, and an Islamist leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, seized control. Anti-U.S. beliefs were strong because the Shah was allowed to seek refuge in America. The revolution did not stabilize Iran. Their neighbor Iraq pounced on that opportunity and invaded The revolution did not stabilize Iran. Their neighbor Iraq pounced on that opportunity and invaded. Iraq, led by Saddam Hussein, was winning the invasion of Iran, but determined Iranian troops kept them at bay for many years. Eventually, the Iranians were defeated. Many Iranian youths were unhappy with the strict Islamic society. Iraq continued with its military campaign and invaded Kuwait, which started the Gulf War. The United States led a coalition against Iraq and defeated them. After 9/11, the United States cracked down on terrorism and invaded Iraq. Saddam was captured and Iraqi society was destroyed. Now over to Amber in our new studio.
Here we're with Mao Zedong. So, I've seen that China has been a guide and inspiration to many other countries while they are seeking new political systems.
Yes, after I reunified China, I started programs to set Chinese communism apart from others. I have done programs like the Great Leap Forward and the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution.
And tell us about the Great Leap Forward.
Well, under this program, I had planned to control all industrial production of more developed nations. My plan had sadly failed and had a disastrous impact on Chinese agriculture.
What happened during the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution?
Well, if anyone was against me being leader or my visions for China, I would have them beaten, killed, jailed, or sent to corrective labor camps.
Alright, and on that note, we're gonna stop. Right, here we've brought out Deng Xiaoping. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. When did you come to power, and what did you do with China?
Well, I came to power after Mao Zedong died, and I had to recover China from all the turmoil he had put us through with his Great Leap Forward and Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. To help China get back on its feet, I brought it into international financial and trade systems. This opened the nation to foreign and capitalist nations to rebuild the society.
And how did you introduce foreign cultures to your people?
I simply sent students to foreign colleges to learn different careers and increase their productivity. When the students came back, they held a pro-democracy demonstration in Tiananmen Square because they saw it over in other countries and wanted that type of government for China. I did not want anything to go beyond that square, so I approved a bloody crackdown to assure it did not spread.
Our next guest is Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister of India from 1966 to 1977, and 1980 to 1984. Now, Indira, what happened under your rule in India?
Well, India stayed politically strong throughout war, poverty, ethnic and religious conflict, and overpopulation. While I was in power, the Green Revolution occurred in India, so that helped us also.
And what happened in 1975 to 1977?
Well, I called for a national emergency, which suspended all democratic processes. While this happened, I furthered birth control by giving involuntary vasectomies. This helped with some of the overpopulation.
Do you believe that this was the right method to go about, even with the problems that occurred afterwards?
At the time, I think it was.
Now tell me about the problems that arose due to your decision.
Ethnic, religious, and secessionist movements arose. The Sikhs wanted a piece of land to call their own, and I would not give it to them, so they created an uprising. They would not compromise, so I ordered my army to attack the Sikhs' sacred Golden Temple.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
In retaliation to the attack on the Golden Temple, 2 Sikhs assassinated Indira Gandhi.